So, meeting to order.
Yeah.
For Monday, May 6th. Today we have a special council meeting. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of the First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Any declarations of conflicts of interest from members of council this evening? Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder that we adopt the special council meeting agenda for Monday, May 6th, together with its published addendum item. Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Mady, all in favor, and that is carried. We will move to reports from administration. We have Corinne Chason here with us to talk about, she's our senior planner, to talk about zoning bylaw amendment 152 County Road 50. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm here today to present a proposed site-specific zoning bylaw amendment for the proposed identified property identified as 152 County Road 50 East. And the owner of this property is North Shore Sellers Incorporated. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the statutory meeting today is to present this application, to hear questions and comments from council and the public, and to hear the merits or concerns in regards to this application, and potentially come to a decision. Next slide, please. So in the next slides, I will identify the property. Next slides. So the property located at 152 County Road East County Road 50, East, is shown here with the red star. And the property is designated agricultural use in the official plan. And the agricultural zoning district A1.1 allows for general agricultural uses and farm support activities. Next slide, please. So these are prime agricultural lands. The applicant utilizes the property as a vineyard and also for cash crops. The left side photo shows the irregular shape, and it is shown there in the outline of blue. And you can see the farm operations building located at the south end. It's on the right side, as well as the access to this property. Next slide, please. This is a large property. It's 37 and change hectares in size. It's got 30 meters of frontage. It has access to County Road 50, which is designed to carry regional traffic. The property currently has an existing dwelling, which is ancillary to the main farming operation. There is one large farm operation building on the property, and this lot is hooked to municipal water, has drainage to our municipal drainage system. There is no municipal sanitary sewer east of Colchester on County Road 50, so all facilities on this property utilize a private septic system. Next slide, please. Next photos are existing conditions of the property. The top left and right show the existing farm operations building. This includes the farm support activities for the vineyard operation. Bottom photo is the cash crop section of the farm field, and just behind the canola field that you're seeing, on the next slide. Oh, no, at the bottom, sorry. I'm moving too fast. There we go. So the canola field at the bottom, just behind that is actually where the vineyard is located, and it's 12 hectares in size for the vineyard. Next slide, please. The other existing structure on this farm is a dwelling, which the applicant wishes to convert into farm labor accommodations. This dwelling was constructed in 2023, and met the requirements of the building code. An ancillary dwelling to the farming operation is permitted under the bylaw. Next slide, please. So in the next few slides, I'll identify the purpose of the zoning application and why it's required. Next slide. So the zoning amendment proposed is to permit the existing dwelling, which is an ancillary use to the established farming operation, to be converted into farm labor housing. An example for clarity: under the permitted uses in the zoning bylaw, the main use of an A1 or agricultural A1.1 property is actually the farming operation first. If there is a dwelling on site, it's actually considered as an ancillary use that supports the farming operation. So this is typically the farm owner's main residence. Okay, that's what we typically see. When a dwelling is used for farm labor accommodations, it requires a zoning amendment in front of you, and is also subject to site plan control. Next slide, please. So what is the definition of an ancillary use? It is defined in the zoning bylaw as a use that complements or otherwise provides a service to the main uses of the zoning district in which it is located. So again, typically, we're used to seeing simply a single family dwelling, which is located on a farm, which the farm owner lives in with their family, okay? But when you have a larger farming operation and the need for additional farm labor accommodations on site requires the zoning bylaw amendment. And this will be site specific to this property. Next slide, please. So the site specific zoning amendment is necessary due to these current zoning regulations. And it states only one main single dwelling, detached dwelling, is permitted in the A1.1 zone. It also states you can permit a second dwelling unit accessory to the main dwelling. So again, typical use if it's a family dwelling, okay? But it specifically states that that dwelling for farm labor accommodations requires that site-specific amendment, and it is subject to site plan control. Okay. The applicants wish to convert the existing permitted main dwelling that's existing on the property. So from it's an ancillary dwelling right now, and they want to switch it into farm labor. Next slide, please. So I've summarized that. You can see it here. But what's the reason? Why do the applicants want to do this? And they've stated that vineyard production is labor intensive and it's seasonally. Having the workers on site is efficient and feasible, and it eliminates the need for transportation. Next slide, please. So here are the submitted drawings that came into us with the application. And you can see here with the highlight where that farm labor dwelling is going to be located, or is located to be converted to, okay? And that's shown there. You can see that it's about 750 feet back from the road, and it is tucked in behind the existing operations building. Next slide, please. Some side views. You can see what it looks like here. Next slide. And the interior layout provided on what it is going to be utilized for. The ancillary dwelling would house 6 to 8 workers through 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a laundry, and a shared large kitchen and living room. It is confirmed that the existing septic system can handle the facilities and capacity for the 6 to 8 people. Next slide, please. So the next slides are the evaluation of the policies that are applicable. Next slide. So this proposal satisfies the PPS, provincial policy statement, in that its use is indeed for agricultural purposes, and that the farming operation is of a size that requires full-time farm labor for support of the planting, harvesting, and production of that agricultural product. Next slide, please. So our Town of Essex official plan policies are in line with the County of Essex official plan policies, in that both the OPs support ancillary dwellings for farm labor accommodations if compliant with these 2 following points. Size of the farming operation and the nature of the work requires that the farm labor be close to the farm. The ancillary dwelling needs to be located so that it cannot easily be severed off in the future. Next slide, please. So in accordance with these policies, main use, agricultural production. We got 12.5 hectares for vineyard. and the rest is currently cash crops. The existing dwelling received a permit from the building department in 2023, and it satisfied building code and inspections. This structure can be utilized for farm labor accommodations, subject to this approval before you today. The applicant has demonstrated the need for worker accommodations due to the type of farming operation. There are cost benefits for having these workers on site with those shared facilities and for those transportation savings. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to talk about our circulation process next. Next slide. So in accordance with the Planning Act, all properties within 120 meters were circulated. As of today, we have not received any comments from the public objecting to this application. Next slide. And we did not receive any objections from our internal department circulation. Next slide, please. So lastly, the next slide simply outlines our next steps. Next slide. So a report to council and a bylaw has now been circulated to council. We have our applicant's legal representative in attendance to answer any questions council may have. His name is Mr. Mark Skipper. And should, after all our presentations are complete, council may decide to do one of these three things. You can approve the application, you can deny the application, or defer the application if further information is required to make your decision today. Through our analysis, it is staff's recommendation to approve this application as this proposal meets all the criteria of the PPS official plans and will satisfy the provision of the zoning bylaw. If approved, this application will proceed through to the site plan approval stage. And at this point, this concludes my presentation. So Madam Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
That was very thorough, and what a nice application to see. I think it's very logical request for that area. Questions, comments from members of council? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I'm just curious, what was the building permit for in 2023? What work was done, if we could be made aware of that?
23. As I noted in the zoning bylaw does allow you to build a dwelling. So the owners proceeded with the building department to construct that structure. They needed to proceed to make sure that they had all of the requirements of the building code satisfied for that structure. It was at that time that they decided that we want to build this structure for labor accommodations at a future date. So they decided to come afterwards with the zoning bylaw amendment to make it proper and legal.
And I'm ready to move the motion when it's appropriate. I fully support it. Thank you.
Table for our presentation, and then we'll go next and see if there's any further questions. So looking for a mover and a seconder that the zoning bylaw amendment at 152 County Road 50 East be received. We'll just receive the report right now. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Verbeek, all in favor? Okay, we may come back to you, Mr. Skipper, if we have questions. We may not need to. I have Councillor Rodney Hammond hand up.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Can we just get a look at it precisely where the building's gonna be? With the shaded areas and stuff like that, I'm having a hard time pinpointing exactly where the building is in relationship to the access and the processing plant.
Mayor. So on this survey, you can see the yellow highlighted area has a leader arrow pointing to where the location is. So if you see where the property starts that L shape.
So right at the base of the
Right at the corner.
farmland then?
Yep.
Take it, okay, where the arrow goes to?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Any?
No, that's good. That's
Okay, Deputy Mayor Shepley. Deputy Mayor Shepley moves that bylaw 2324, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 1037 for lands located at 152 County Road 50 East, be received and read a first, second, third time, and finally passed on May 6th. Needing a seconder for that? Counselor McGuire Blaze, any questions to this motion? Counselor Garen.
Just out of curiosity, just questions out of curiosity. So the discussion in 2023 was to build, there was discussion about getting to this point anyways today. I'm assuming the building has not been lived in, but it's ready for, and with it being for seasonal vineyard production and processing, does that mean year round somebody living there or just seasonally?
Through Madam Mayor, what I can do is I can defer that question over to Mr. Mark Skipper he is a little bit more familiar with the duration. Thank you.
Go back to the delegation podium there and press the mic on when you get there, please, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship and councilors. Through Your Worship to Councillor Hammond, the most occupancy that would exist in this building, from what I'm led to believe from what I'm told by the owner, would be as much as 9 months in a given year. And so it won't be permanently resided in. It'll only be resided in the beginning in the spring and ending in the fall after the harvest.
Karen?
Further to that,
Okay.
I think I'm good with that answer. But back to administration again, the approved use or zoning change is it specific to the property or the business that's on the property? I'm just wondering about if in the future, if the use of that property was to change hands and it would be no longer this business, but say another business, and that business, would they have to reapply for the use of that building for what it's being used for?
Excellent question. Anytime that you do a site-specific zoning, it stays with the property, not with the company. So yes, it would be available to have bunkhouses for the use of agricultural production for accommodations. Thank you.
Okay, so so has to for that use to be there though, even though it's to the property, has to continue an agricultural use of some sort, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that is correct.
I would like to thank your applicants for doing this because we are in desperate need of housing down there. And I know that our agricultural industries are in desperate need of workers. And I think that this is a really good and positive move. And I think it's a safe move for the workers to keep them on site. I do have Director Chadwick that wants to speak, Mr. Skipper, first, and then if you want a closing remark.
Mayor Bondi, and through you to all of council. So the provincial policy statement is set to be updated in the very near future to revise the policies to make it easier for to agricultural operators to mandate the farm labor accommodations by right. So as you've seen tonight, it is a zoning bylaw amendment that is required because it is permitted, although it just needs to go through kind of that application process. Farm labor accommodations is an agricultural related use, as Ms. Chason indicated earlier. The main use being the agricultural use. This is an agricultural related use or an ancillary use. And moving forward with the PPS, in anticipation of that, our new official plan will be also consistent with the new PPS. So it would be in the near future, we would likely, this may be the last one you'll see at council. It may just go through the building counter and building permit process in the future. Thank you.
Skipper, was there something else you wanted to say?
Just to thank Your Worship and council for the consideration you've given this. This building is a new building. It's met all standards and codes that now exist. So certainly I would think it will end up being at the top of the list in terms of the labor accommodations that are offered for those who aren't, who have migrated to the country for the purposes of helping in the farm harvest. I have no further comments except to say thank you, your worship and councilors for considering
Okay,
the matter.
thank you. Counselor Hammond?
I'm assuming it's met all conditions, that the, migrant workers require as well.
That's right.
Okay.
There are steps that are taken, and one of them, it's a hurdle to getting the building constructed is your approval, obviously, but another hurdle is to get the immigration authorities to allow the people in the country. And there's been a lot of controversy lately, but I'm led to believe that the immigration authorities have sanctioned a full use of this facility, at least for this season, for the migrant workers that will be housed there.
You're like wine, so you'll see how we vote here.
That's probably unanimous, I would think.
All in favor of the motion? And that is passed unanimously. I'm going to seek a motion that the delegation by Mark Skipper be received as well. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Allard, any questions to that? Seeing none, all in favor, and I'll seek a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Guerin, all in favor, and that's carried.